appreciation event every year is something that we look forward to through every month of the year. You know, getting together down at the farmhouse parlor, you know, having some oysters and sharing onion rings together, and the significant bar tab that we usually have at the end of the night. And it's our special way to just say thank you, you know, and we do it in person every year and can kind of give some hugs and really show our appreciation, for volunteers and donors and people that generally support us throughout the year. Um, we also couldn't imagine not having the event. You know, clearly we couldn't get together in that beautiful space, and enjoy each other's company. But we couldn't really get into this year without having some time. And so I'm going to just kind of run through some of my favorite images. These aren't professional photographs. These are things we pull together through the course of the year. And I think a theme is kind of us feeling, because of your support, that we could say yes to quite a few more things in what I'd say was a pretty darn crazy year all around in 2020. So thanks for joining us tonight. I imagine you've been on Zooms a lot, and so I just really appreciate you taking the time. As I said, when everyone was joining, you probably didn't have much else to do on a Friday night. So thanks for taking the time with us. You know, you remember last February, not too long ago, but this is Wintervale, February 2020. People coming together in the Intervale, cross-country skiing, renting fat tire bikes, hot chocolate, and you know, in true Intervale fashion, we plan to have maybe 400 or 500 people in that would be a large Wintervale, and 1,200 people showed up. You know, they lined the streets, and just love the fact that there's this open space right in the middle of Vermont's most populated region. And you know, you want to remember these things, right? And it's because of you that we can provide this space and have people down here and enjoy it. And I look forward to when we're doing this again, soon. Next slide. Oh, and I have to call out the next slides because I'm not able to advance them here. So it's a little strange, you know, but then right away, let's say right after February, it's almost like bam, right? We're learning that we have to distance, we have to close down. Businesses, restaurant workers are going out of business. And so we knew right away we had to say yes to some things. This is Andrea Salazzo from the Vermont Food Bank, actually packing with our gleaning team right in the Intervale Food Hub barn. And, you know, a couple weeks after Wintervale, we immediately put together 150 free shares and just started distributing them, mostly to restaurant workers that were trying to figure out, you know, what was going to be the next meal on the table. You know, as we think about, you know, the whole of 2020, where do we get to say yes, right? And so this was the early stage yes that we were able to say. And I think it underscores how Vermonters really respond. You know, if you have a facility like ours and you have relationships with farmers and you have existing distribution routes, why not say yes and lend a hand? And it's very symbolic, I think, of Vermonters generally. Next slide, please. You know, we operate a food home delivery business, right? So early last year, Intervale Food Hub has just put in a new customer interface. We've hired some people. We're all set up to go into the year. And again, we leaned in and said, yes, you know, people needed new ways to get access to food. And this is Keith, who is co-manager of the Intervale Food Hub. And if you look closely, that smile on Keith's face, I think, represents the way the entire team of the Intervale Food Hub handled last year. They said yes to a lot of things. with smiles on their face and grew that particular business, a food home delivery business last year, very significantly, and had an amazing year, safely delivering food from Vermont farmers to a lot of people in our community. And you don't know this, but in Keith's mind right now, I think he's in this picture, he's thinking, man, I can't believe I have twins on the way. So him and his wife actually delivered two gorgeous twins in the first week of June last year. So imagine his world, both last year and this year. Next, please. So I popped this one in here because, you know, I like to show pictures that my kids have a hand in. And my son, I think, had just gotten a small camera and was playing with computers. And so many of you on this call probably talked to me or had a Zoom call from inside of my very nice 1985 Westphalia, which was my home office for several months. And so I spent a lot of cool spring days in that bus, having a lot of fun conversations. I think Lori Rowe asked me if I was in an RV somewhere, and someone else asked me if I was on a sailboat down in the Caribbean, which I surely wished I had then. But everyone on the team had to adjust. And I just want to say, you know, to my whole staff, how amazing that people have worked out of their home offices. I've had more meetings with Mandy where she's sitting on the stairs, you know, in the stairway of her house, kids in the background, all over the place. You know, Sam, who's on here, has logged thousands of hours on Zoom with farmers across the state of Vermont. And we've all figured out ways to really advance the mission of the Intervale Center, but we're doing it mostly remotely and in crazy new home offices across the state. Next, please. But, you know, things like fixing water quality in the state of Vermont, or climate change, or habitat restoration, you know, don't wait for me to figure out my internet connection in my bus, or, you know, where we're going to work. We need to get the trees out into the landscape. And this is a favorite image of mine of Christine Kramer planting a pine tree up in Stowe. And we put about 33,000 trees into the state of Vermont last year, all across the hills and valleys, for watershed restoration to build resiliency for climate change. And here at the Intervale, we propagated about 55,000 new trees, which are the baby trees of tomorrow. I was chatting with Christine today and I asked her, I was like, how many trees do you think you've touched in the state of Vermont? And she's like, I don't even know, maybe tens of thousands of trees. She's doing a restoration project here in Stowe that we've worked on for many years. It's helping Stowe build that riparian buffer along the recreational trail. And there was a really heavy invasive species problem in this particular area. So there was some clean out of the species and then restoration with native species. Next, please. So, right, these are the amazing working landscapes. This is Vermont's countryside. This is, you know, what you see on magazine covers. This is why tourists enjoy Vermont. This is why Vermonters over and over will survey really highly on how valuable the working landscape is in Vermont. This is actually a picture of the Robinson farm. It was a dairy farm for about 7 generations. And Hillary there with the two dogs actually worked with the Intervale Center and Vermont Land Trust, worked with us to put together the business proposal, worked with Vermont Land Trust in their farmland access program. And her and her husband were able to buy this farm from the Robinson family so that it would not leave agriculture. It won't be in that family. It won't be in dairy anymore, but it will go into a new future type of farm, a diversified livestock operation with a vegetable component. And this farm, I don't have a picture, but it has a 10-sided round barn that is also part of the complex. So 275 acres, Beautiful, beautiful landscape. Now protected with Vermont Land Trust and in business with Hillary and her husband. And our team had a hand in working on that business development. We also worked with about 109 other farms across the state of Vermont with similar land-related purchase elements, but probably more so farms that were shifting because of the market changes due to COVID. You know, farmers figuring out how to put a you know, an online marketplace together, an on-farm. Oh, Charlie, it's down near Tunbridge, Sharon, in that neck of the woods. So we helped a lot of farms figure out how to pivot and find financing to put on, you know, farm stands at the end of the road. Farmers were getting involved in aggregation with other farmers and figuring out how to tap into markets. And then we worked with the agencies of agriculture and all of the federal funding that you could imagine that was sort of flowing towards farms to help farms navigate that complicated process to access relief funds. So all together, I think Sam and our whole team, you know, logged thousands of hours on Zoom helping farms all over Vermont. Next slide. Then there's just the beautiful support that we can provide. This is the Winooski River right near the Intervale. This is a young couple walking the trails. And so the space was a refuge, a place to charge your batteries, a place to get away and spend some time this year. And I just love these photos because I work here all the time and sometimes I can forget the amazing beauty that we're so lucky to have right here in our community. Next up. So everyone knows this crew over here on the left, right? This is, you know, Abby, who used to work here, now has a restaurant in town. Leslie, who's on the call with us today and is on our board, and FM, who I'm not sure is on the call here, but is also on our board of directors and has been involved in events that we've had for a number of years. And all the rest of the volunteer crew are central to the Midsummers Feast, and in this picture, the Midsummers Toast. One of those things that you just want to get together around a table. But this year we had to innovate this, as we always do, and essentially hosted Vermont's finest drive-through evening in Vermont. Like 200 plus people came down into the Intervale to not only get an amazing meal, but I think more importantly, spend a little bit of time near people they love and wave and say hi and chat. And I just had to put this picture of our radio station, FM 88.3, if you guys haven't heard about it. But one of our great volunteers, Allison Chalnick, had this idea and was able to make it a reality. So when you drove down into the Intervale, you could tune into our very special radio station for the, you know, hour or so you spent down here. So it was just I was really blessed to see like this event be able to modify and be so amazingly successful. You know, and then we're in the middle of a completely crazy year, right? And there's these sweet moments. Lake Champlain Chocolates and our friends Eric and Gary, you know, wanted to do something like this in partnership with our team. And it was a really special project that, you know, developed over some time and resulted in a line of chocolate bars called Restorative Moments. That also a percentage of the proceeds go to the Intervale Center. So our brand is embedded in there, and it's really generous of the folks at Lake Champlain Chocolates to put not only an amazing chocolate bar out into the marketplace, but to marry it sort of with the mission of the Intervale Center. So thanks, Gary and Eric, if you're on there. Thank you as well, and anyone else from Lake Champlain Chocolates tonight. And the one that I you know, am closing with a bit is a story that evolved over the year. The Intervale Center and some folks at Skinny Pancake and Vermont Community Foundation had gotten together early in the year and had a conversation around utilizing restaurant infrastructure to make meals, serving people in the community that were food insecure or in need, thinking about restaurant workers that were being laid off like right away. How could we support them? And so a concept called shift meals was started. Meals were developed in the Skinny Pancake commissary in Winooski and then donated to people in need. And so tens of thousands of meals went through that program, and Intervale Center was the fiscal sponsor. So part of that could be run on charitable contributions. And then that model actually became the basis for a program called Everyone Eats that was funded through the state with CARES Act funding from the federal government. And I'm just really happy to say that the Intervale Center, as in our partnership with Skinny Pancake, helped deliver 100,697 free meals in the last 86 days of 2020. And this is Lauren and Braden, who had a hand in delivering many of those meals in their van. And I'm also happy to say that we just signed contract yesterday to do another 100,000 meals that will start or have started and will run probably through May into June. So let's keep up the good work supporting our neighbors who need access to food in these tough times. And programs like this also run money into our local restaurants and economy. The final slide, I just want to leave you with this. This was a hopeful, very hopeful moment last year where the salmon came up the Winooski River and were spawning by the thousands. And it hadn't been something I had witnessed really like this when I was here, or since I've been here. And people came from all over the community just to see it in action. And it was full of smiles and hope. And it's just a great way to sort of remember parts of 2020 having such amazing elements to it. So there you have my top photos from 2020. And I want to thank you again for all the help and support you've given us to make those moments a reality for us and for Vermont.